So I'm here with Ray. Ray, thank you so much for coming on the record and joining us. And I want to thank Terry Carter for kind of hooking us up. Someone sent me the interview that you did with Terry, and I reached out to Terry. I've met Terry years ago, and Terry sort of was kind enough to give me your contact info, and here you are. And thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem, LA. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for having me on your show, and hopefully I can, shed some light on some of this stuff that people have been, unbeknownst to me, talking about for a very long time now. And I guess in recent years, it's gained more interest and more traction. So, thanks for having me on the show. I'll, answer whatever I can just based on whatever I know.
Okay. Well, let me just start at the beginning. Where's the connection here between your family, your family, and the so-called Kandahar giant? How does all this connect?
Well, I guess you could say it connects with my father and his childhood and upbringing with my grandmother, who, when he was young, he witnessed doing some weird things that he didn't really understand until he was a little older, when, he was kind of a wild and crazy guy in his youth. And he'd go out and right. Yeah, we all are. And, he would, long story short, he would go out like camping with his buddies and stuff, in the mountains there. And there's a lot of, I guess, outdoorsy things to do. There's fishing, there's swimming, and camping and just, playing cards and stuff, right by the river, just like a lot of people and a lot of cultures do. And
but let me answer, where is this taking place?
This is taking place in Kandahar, in Afghanistan.
Okay.
My father was born in, I believe it was either 3/13/36 or 3/13/37. I have his death certificate.
Okay.
I'd have to look, but it's one of those years. He was about 77 when he died, and that would have been in 2013 now, at the end of March. But this pretty much began, I guess, with him when he was just hanging out with his buddies in the mountains. And he said when he was by himself one time, he saw something that was really, really strange, and it piqued his interest. So he asked his mother about it, and she told him that, there was something that lives in those caves, and he's smart to stay out of those caves. She basically told him, if you want to find out what that thing is, you're probably going to regret it. So I advise you stay out. And then after that, he connected two and two, and he's like, oh, okay, I guess, every time we go up near this cave and leave this animal, perhaps that's what we're doing. And that's indeed what they were doing. So
now, when you say leave the animal, and I know something here, and I'll let you tell your story, and then I'll tell you what I know. I think it's going to be interesting. When you say leave the animal, elaborate on that. What are you talking about?
Well, my family owned animals over there. They raised for food, and periodically they would go to a certain location, and my father would witness his mother lead an animal up to this area where there was a cave, like within a stone's throw away, very, very close to where they would tie this animal up. And that's pretty much what he told me he saw when he was very young. And then when he was older, and he had seen this big giant footprint after it rained one day. And then when he questioned his mother about it, that's when, he kind of made the connections that perhaps, that's why they were leaving animals there when he was much younger. And it's really wild stuff, but I can only go based on what my father told me, and he told me that he was a little bit freaked out when she told him that. So he dug a little more and asked her about it, and she pretty much said that it's a jinn. It's this I don't know if you would call it a demon or just another being that lives in the earth. But apparently there's a bunch of these things, and there were people for generations going and leaving these, I guess you would call them offerings, peace offerings, or just like, like World War I, Neville the Appeaser, something like that.
Right.
I don't know if there was like this this trust that had formed between certain bloodlines and families throughout, time. But that's what I came to know from my father.
It's interesting you should say that, because I've heard that exact story from another source, saying that that they would bring goats or animals and tie the animal up near the cave, and of course that would appease the giant or the giants plural that were there.
Yeah.
Did your father ever say anything about how big it was? Had he ever seen it, or did his mother ever say how big it was, or had she seen it?
I don't believe so. My father never told me he saw anything. He just told me he saw a gigantic footprint, and he didn't specify like how many digits it had, like if it had 6 toes or 5 toes.
Right.
I didn't actually know about the 6-toe thing until much later, after he died, and I saw another video on it. And I did a little more digging, and I saw something about the Jaredites. I guess there were these people that came to America, and they fit the description of these tall, redheaded giants. And that's I guess that's open for discussion. A lot of people are very skeptical of this whole subject matter. So,
well, no, I understand that. And Native Americans have the same oral tradition, same legend of red-haired giants, 6 fingers coming over to the Americas. So in the biblical narrative, and this is what's interesting, it talks about Joshua and Caleb going into the promised land, and the Nephilim tribes are there. So we think that there's a diaspora as Joshua and Caleb press the conquest, these guys just leave. So Afghanistan is not that far away from the modern nation of, let's say, Syria or Israel or Iraq. I mean, it just isn't. And if you see, part of this thing is, you just said something that this has been going on for generations. And I've often stated that when the soldiers shot the Kandahar giant, the stench was unbelievable. The thing was about 12 to 14 feet tall, but the smell from the body was just unbelievable. And so you ask yourself, how old is this thing? Is it 1,000 years old? Is it 2,000 years old? So that's what I know. And, it's like the Mormons call them the Jaredites. So we're talking, I think, the same thing, maybe just different interpretations. So when you hear that, what do you think?
I mean, I wasn't there, but I think anything's possible. And my father said that the footprint he saw was almost as long as he was tall. He said it was very big. He almost could have laid down in it.
How old was your dad when he saw this?
He was a teenager.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a teenager when he saw this, and it really shook him. It really freaked him out. In fact, he was so scared that after that, he didn't go camping too much anymore. And his friends kind of made fun of him. And for the rest of his life, my dad said that he was very, very careful as to who he told about that, just because it got him a lot of ridicule when he tried to talk about it with someone. And he was scared of his mother. So I guess he was told to keep it quiet as well.